Now, coming off this harness, the very first plug you're gonna come across is this one labeled audio out. If this is not plugged into any one of these two plugs, you're not gonna get audio. So this is front and rear, left and right, output of the LinksWell radio into any one of these two plugs. And these two plugs are factory amplified, non-factory amplified, right? So in this case, we are gonna go with the non-factory amplified plug. So it says with factory amp audio, without factory amp audio. So we're gonna pick one and start off with that. Okay, make sure you plug that in. And then let's talk about these additional wires. The additional wires that are coming off the main plug, it's SWC1, SWC2, it is 360 trigger, and there's an orange one labeled AMP EN. The AMP EN wire is your remote turn on, and that's across the board on all of our radios, whether you're doing a Ram, a Ford, a Jeep, or a Chevy. Like, it's the same wire. It's labeled AMP EN, that's remote turn on. 360 trigger, we call it 360 trigger because if you're doing an aftermarket 360 system on any given vehicle, that's the wire that you would use to trigger the radio into backup camera input while the vehicle's moving forward. If you're not doing any of that stuff, then you're not using that wire. SWC1, SWC2, this is just if you're doing it in some random car and you're trying to hardwire the steering wheel controls using one of the universal steering wheel control interfaces. So 99.9% of the time, you're not gonna use any of these four wires unless you're adding an amp, then you're using the amp EN wire. Since you're not using them, what I like to do, preventive measure, tape them up. Yes, they have gel tips on them, but you know, in the process of shoving all these wires into the back of the radio, they might fall off. So I usually recommend tape them off. So let's move right along here. So we've got audio plug, loose wires coming from the radio harness. We have here auxiliary audio wires. This is to maintain function of the factory auxiliary audio input, right? So this is audio from the car. And so we have one of our harnesses that we include is the aux in. So this is AV input. So you could use those two here to keep the factory auxiliary audio input functional, the one that's in the USB hub right below the factory radio. So that's gonna keep factory USB input functional. Video input, you don't have to use it. It could be your fourth video in. You get 3 backup camera inputs. A fourth one could be your video in off of the AV input harness. But most of the time, this gets used so that you can maintain function of the factory auxiliary audio input. If you're not using it, you don't care for it, customers never used it, you didn't talk about it, they didn't question you, you could leave the plastic caps that we have. Let me take my hat off. You could leave the plastic caps that they come with, leave them on, right? Leave them on just so that you don't pick up any unwanted noise. So that's what those RCAs are. You're gonna see the CD, similar RCAs that are labeled CD left, CD right. We use very similar harnesses across the Dodge, Ram, Jeep family, and that's to maintain audio of the factory CD player in those vehicles. In this case, it doesn't apply, so we're not gonna use it. Put some tape on it, forget about it. Okay, so moving down to the factory plug, okay? So this is what's gonna plug into the factory radio plug. Now remember, we're not using any third-party interface modules. Maestro has nothing to do here. None of the other radio retention modules have anything to do here because we're taking care of this for you from A through Z. Look, including the little clips that you would normally have to remove from the factory panel, already come preloaded on the radio. I've been in situations where I'm like, okay, good, I'm all plugged in, ready to go, snap in the radio, I'm like, oh, my clips. Guess what? You don't have to worry about that here. So then additional plugs on this main harness. Let's go down the line here. 2-pin speaker plug, it's labeled. that's gonna plug into your Chime speaker. Don't leave it out, make sure you use it. That's what that is. Then we have the main CAN bus plug. It only plugs into one. You can't miss it, right? You can't get it wrong. There are two sides to this CAN bus module. So one of them is this one. Oh, see, I'm trying to plug it into the wrong one. So one of them is this one. The other one is also in this same harness, which is right over here. Okay, now, so those are your two CAN bus plugs, your speaker. This one here is labeled to climate. This is gonna plug into the AC climate control plug that you're gonna disconnect from the factory panel. It simply plugs in here. It's a single plug, it's just one plug. There is an additional plug here, white plug. It says to radio. So on the back of the radio, there is a white plug that's gonna plug into, all right? So then any additional harnesses that are on here, for example, this one here that's got the two RCAs, most of these Jeeps and Rams, they come with a high definition camera. It's an AHD type camera. Well, this factory backup camera retention module is included in the kit. Remember, no third-party integration modules are required. So all you're doing is you're plugging that in like this, all right? Now, the red plug is where the factory backup camera plug is gonna plug into. We'll show you that in the car. Now, coming off of this plug, we have two RCAs, male RCAs. One of them says AHD, the other one says CVBS. You also have some pink wires here. They're supposed to be open if you're gonna use the AHD signal. If you're gonna use the CVBS signal, then you have to tie these pink wires together. But remember, all these cameras that are in these Jeeps, they're high definition. So we've already preset it so that you keep these open. You're using the AHD, not the CVBS. Whatever you don't use, highly recommended, just add additional tape to keep these gel caps from falling off. Okay, so just do that. And then whatever video we're not gonna use, I'm not just gonna cover it. So this is the CVBS output. It's got a label on it. I'm not just gonna cover it. I'm also going to attach it to the harness so it just doesn't dangle loose and creates a problem in the process of putting all this stuff back in. So that's the main harness. I know there's a lot going on here. Don't get scared. Don't be intimidated. I'm a little nervous here. Can you tell, John? So fine, here we go. So that's what the main harness is gonna look like. Plug into the radio, plug into the car. We have the two CAN bus plugs. We have the backup camera retention module here. We have our AC climate control. We have our two radio. There's one other plug that you need to be aware of. This one here is labeled to CAN box. So Jeeps have what, from factory, they've got something called off-road pages. So the off-road pages are compatible with our Gen 6 and our XL radios only, not the Gen 5. You want the off-road pages, you need an EV module. In addition to off-road pages, if you're working on a 4xe model, you're gonna need this as well to be able to see the power flow pages on the new screen. So again, all this to be able to keep not just for our radio to integrate into the car, it's to keep all of the factory functions that the radio has. Remember, A through Z, it's all done here. Now guys, you guys feel free to interrupt if you have any questions. I'm not long-winded, but I can talk long. I can over-explain things if you need me to. So that's the EV module. The EV module is sold separately. You're not always gonna need it, so it is sold separately. The backup camera retention module is included in the kit. Obviously, the CAN bus module is included in the kit. The only other one that is not included in the kit here is a multi-channel camera interface module. So this other plug is labeled, and it's labeled because it says multi-cam power, right? So all you're doing with that one is, this is what the multi-camera interface module looks like. It is two plugs, plus all of your camera inputs. But just to give you an idea how that rolls, all right? So here's a multi-camera interface module. So two sides, you're going to have, let's stretch this out. Okay, so let's stretch this out. So two sides. This end is gonna plug in to the multi-power plug on the main harness. We're not hardwiring power to this. We're not running triggers from the vehicle to this. It's all data driven. So to the radio, the main power plug, it's even color coordinated for you. In the USB input, all right, the USB input is there so that you can have control of the camera inputs on this module. So there is a USB cable that we include inside the kit. It's basically a white plug on one end. I'm just cutting the wire ties. So it's a white plug on one end and it's a USB input on the other end. So two sides to the multi-camera interface module. Power plug, USB in, the other end goes into the back of the radio, all right? And that is it as far as the radio side of your connections. Now, the module has a big plug and a small plug, all right? So the big plug is what has your 6 camera inputs. All right, so that simply just plugs in here. And then you have your front, rear, left, right, they call it chassis on this one, huh? And cargo. So there you go, 2, 4, 6 inputs. There are some triggers on here or some wires on here. This is if you want to manually trigger it, you're not gonna need to. 99% of the time, you're only gonna use your 6 video inputs depending on how many cameras you're using, all right? This one here, okay, let's talk about the factory backup camera. So the output of your backup camera retention module is gonna plug into here. Now the output, which is the male, is gonna go into our camera plug. This is another one of the small plugs that we include in there. So there is one in here called factory cam input. That's your backup camera input. In addition to the 6 that are here, you're gonna have 2 more that could be manually accessed from the radio. So total 8 camera inputs. The wires that are on this harness, you can use them to power your aftermarket cameras. If you're doing aftermarket cameras, these are independent power outputs. So we have our factory cam input is gonna go into here, factory cam input. That's gonna plug in there. And then remember, there was 2 plugs here, a big one and a small one. So the small one is right over here. So this is basically a 4-pin plug. So now that's it. Your left turn signals are data driven. Your right camera input is data driven. Your front camera input is data driven. It's gonna come on when you go anywhere between 6 miles per hour and like 2 miles per hour. And that could be not changed, but you can turn the front camera off and only leave the 2 side ones on. You can independently control those inputs. So any questions so far? Everybody okay? Any questions? John, let me know here. I'm just gonna keep on going. So that's what the multi-channel camera interface module does for you, just so you guys get an idea. So that's what the power plug on this harness is for. If you're not doing a multi-channel camera interface module, then you're not using this power plug on the main harness. But that's what the multi-channel interface does. So that's it as far as the main harness. I'm gonna put this to the side for now. We talked about the backup camera input. Any of the other harnesses that we include, we'll talk about the antennas in a little bit. Antennas, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me put my 4 antennas here off to the side. So then we have 4-volt RCA pre-outs, front, rear, and subwoofer out. The microphone plug is also there. Can you use a factory mic? Yes, if you know how to find the wiring, dissect it, put a 3.5 millimeter plug on it, and plug it into here. If not, then use the one we include. But even though you want to use the factory one, it might work better, it might work worse, it might not work at all, because every microphone has got its own parameters built in based on the Bluetooth interface that it's made for. So back to the harnesses, front, rear, and subwoofer outputs, microphone input. Then we have our Toslink fiber optic output. A lot of you guys out there have shared with us that you've done full-blown fiber optic audio systems. I know JL's got a killer DSP processor that's all optical driven. So that's what this purple plug, fiber optic output plug, is right over here. The optical output on our radio is variable, it's not fixed. So keep that in mind. We have our antenna adapter, factory antenna in here, into the new radio there. We have we call this our DVR cable. DVR only because this is what our DVR interface uses, but really, I mean, it's constant power, ignition, and ground. If you're testing something with our radios and you need power and ground to power a backup camera because you're trying to use an aftermarket one, you could use accessory out and ground. That'll have your backup camera on all the time. This can handle up to a 4 amp output, so you should be fine with this. So constant power, ignition, and ground. That's what this cyan green plug is. This red one here is for your factory USB retention. It has 2 USB cables on it. One of them is a USB mini, and it's short because you're disconnecting the factory USBs from the radio, factory radio, and you're plugging it into here. The other one is long. Now this one has a label called Phone Link. The CarPlay on the Gen 6 and the XLs is wireless only. Android Auto is wired and wireless. So that's where you would plug in your USB-C cable for your Android Auto. Other than that, CarPlay is only wireless. So that's what this cable here is going to do. Whew, all right. So we have all of these harnesses. Next, 4 antennas. Aside from the AM/FM antenna, which we talked about already. GPS antenna, the closer you put it to the top of the dash, the better. Obviously, optimum performance on top of the dash or outside in the vehicle, but you should be okay with up high behind the dash, no problem. Wi-Fi antenna, really doesn't matter where you put it. You could just plug it into the radio, find a cool spot behind it to tape it. It's just between you, your phone, Wi-Fi hotspot, and the radio itself, so it really doesn't matter. These two with the purple plugs, these are your 4G LTE antennas. This is so that you can pick up cellular signal with these new radios. I don't know if you're aware about this, but a lot of people aren't, so let me explain it to you. We have the ability to, in addition to provide our radio Wi-Fi hotspot from your phone, we can also load a SIM card into this radio. What does that mean? That means that you can have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and internet access at the same time simultaneously. I could split screen between YouTube and CarPlay. In the past, because your phone uses the Wi-Fi function for CarPlay, whenever you would turn on the Wi-Fi hotspot, at that point, your phone would drop the CarPlay connectivity. Same thing with the radios. The chip inside of the radios could be used for either CarPlay or it could be used for Wi-Fi hotspot, not both at the same time. Well, our way around that is we add the SIM card capability. These are your 4G LTE antennas. There is no 1 and 2, there is no left and right. There's simply 2 antennas and there's 2 plugs on the back of the radio. So it doesn't matter which one you plug in there. They're not temperamental. I think these antennas are guys because they're not temperamental. These antennas, doesn't really matter where you put them back there. Remember, your phone works inside of buildings, inside of elevators. So it's not very picky with where you put these antennas. Obviously, up high, you want to take your preventive measures and sort of, kind of put them back there, but it's okay. Now, the SIM card holder on our radio, okay, is this cable right here. If your customer is not ready the day that you do the install, this cable is long enough to be mounted into the glove box for easy access in the future. Now, in this case, We're gonna be loading a SIM card in here. Dang it, I had it in here somewhere. Did I lose it? We're gonna be loading a SIM card in here, and I don't know what I did with it, to be honest with you. We activated it already, and I had it in here. Did I put it in the car? Oh. So, guess what? I don't want to have to look for it, so what I'm gonna do, hey, it was here. So what I'm gonna do is, Marco, do me a favor. Please call Robert Black, swap the SIM card number. Guys, this is the advantage. We've got some SIM cards here. Yeah, just have him call, okay, have him call the rep. And then by the time we're done with the install, guys, the SIM card is gonna be up and running, no problem. So we'll get another one. And so let me pull the SIM card out. Give this to Marco, have him call Robert, and then just swap out the SIM card. Tell him, hey, we lost the SIM card, can you swap it out? Sorry about that, guys. So anyhow, the SIM card holder is a simple flap. So switch over, open it. There's a little aluminum bracket that slides down, and then it'll lift up. So down and up. The SIM card itself has a notch. Follow the notch on the tray, drop it in there, put the aluminum tray down and slide it up. All right, and then close it, and that's it. That's it for SIM card. Now again, for those of you guys that are out there and that don't know about this, if you take this unit and you try and go to a service provider, AT&T is not a choice. AT&T no longer supports 4G LTE devices. They only support 5G devices. This is a 4G LTE device. Verizon and T-Mobile, we have two contacts for you, only because initially people were taking these radios, going to a Verizon store, a T-Mobile store, saying, I need a SIM card, I need a data plan on a SIM card for my LinksWell radio. And they were like, well, we need an IMEI number. So the IMEI number on these units, when you would give it to the rep at the store or the rep over the phone, they had no idea what to do because the IMEI number doesn't come up in their system. So anyway, long story short, there's a huge hassle with having the customer go to the store or call their T-Mobile or Verizon cellular phone service provider to try and get a SIM card. It's almost impossible. So what we did, we contacted a few IT professionals. One of them actually has a T-Mobile SIM card access, and then we have direct contact with somebody at Verizon. Verizon has a $25 a month data package. I think it's limited to 10 to 15 gigs, and that's it. The T-Mobile data plan is truly unlimited, so there's no data cap, and it activates the Wi-Fi hotspot function on these radios. So not only are you gonna have unlimited data on this radio so that you can watch all the videos, all the streaming you want, you're also gonna have a Wi-Fi hotspot function through the T-Mobile service plan. That one is $45 a month. That's the one that we're putting in here. Let me put the SIM card back. And so we'll have, so the SIM card is already in. So that's the SIM card, that's the 4G LTE antennas. Now, these brackets that you see here, the screws and this tool. So what happens in the car is these are the mounting brackets that the factory screen, the factory radio uses to hold itself in place. Well, our radio is a little wider. So we include these brackets so that you can mount these brackets where the factory radio was mounted to. So now, once you grab a radio and you put it on there, our radio is gonna mount to these outer screw holes right over here. So that's what that's gonna do. We include one screw, two screws. So we include 4 screws, 2 per side, but we also include a 5th one because we've all been there. You drop it, you lose it, now what? Guess what? Here we go. Boom, 5th one. And we also include the tool for you because this is a security bit, so it's got a little pin in the middle. So we include the tool in there so that you could do that. So there's 5 screws for these 2 brackets, and there's your tool. So next, I think we'll get in the car, but I got another treat for you guys. Let me just kind of put all these things to the side for now. I got another treat for you guys. Here's another question that I would recommend that you ask your customer in the process of helping them with a LinksWell solution. Mr. Customer, by the way, do you use polarized sunglasses? Right? Mr. Customer, do you use polarized sunglasses? Well, why do you ask? Ever notice that when you're wearing your sunglasses, the screen is like hardly visible in your car? Your phone, it's hardly visible. Yeah, I gotta tilt my head to the side, left and right. So, cool. So the reason why I ask, it's because these new radios are actually no different. And I don't want you to have to hassle through that. So, because I don't want you to hassle through that, we have a solution for you. And that solution is, we also have a tempered glass screen protector for these new radios. Now, you can't get this tempered glass screen protector anywhere else. And I'm doing it now because there's no dirt, there's no fingerprints, there's no lint on the screen. So guess what? We have a 15.6 custom fabricated tempered glass screen protector for you. What this is gonna do, it's gonna make the difference between you being able to see your screen with your polarized prescription glasses or your polarized sunglasses. So check this out, you guys. If you haven't seen our video on this, you gotta take a look at it, because I'm telling you, you wanna be able to provide your customers with custom, personalized solutions. So all I'm gonna do here, all right, I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna take the volume knob protector out. There is a plastic temporary screen protector here. So watch this. It comes right off. Just like that. Okay. Out with the old. And we're gonna come in with the new. It's better to do it when you have the radio here face down. Sorry, face up. And just like this, it's going to attach itself. If you have any bubbles on the screen, you can use a microfiber to get rid of them and you'll be fine. But also, once this unit gets out into the sun, it'll also get rid of those bubbles. So I'm not gonna worry about the bubbles right now. Because of that, I can iron them out with the microfiber once the radio is in. My main concern was no lint, no dust, no fingerprints on that screen. While I still have the radio like this, I'm gonna put my volume knob protector back in, and I'm gonna put this back on so that I don't scratch the panel or anything in the process of installing it. So that's another thing we wanted to show you guys. All right, so keep in mind that we have them for the 15.6s, the 12 inches, the 13 inches, the 10 inches. They are available for every single one of our radios. Make sure you ask your rep about them. You want to have them in stock, ready to go for anybody that's going to ask you about this. All right, so now that we've got that done, let's go and get the radio, factory radio out. So let me grab my yellow panel removal tool that I bought from Harbor Freight and just pop this thing out. So this bottom panel, you guys already know, it just simply pops right out. I like to use my, thank you, fingertips. Let me pull this thing out, just like this. Okay. So single AC climate control plug, guys. One plug handles everything down here. Okay. Now there's our AC. Push to start button right over here. Push to start right over here. Now let's talk about the climate control panels real quick. Get familiar with this, because a lot of times we get phone calls when they go, hey, everything works except for my AC factory climate controls. Well, have you set them correctly? No, I don't know what that means. So keep in mind that in the car you have single temp vehicles, dual temp vehicles. As far as the Jeep goes, it's either single or dual. This is what's known as manual if you only have a single temp control, or auto if you have dual temp controls. So depending on what you have, that's how you're gonna tell the new LinksWell radio how to control the factory climate controls. Also, heated seats, okay? That's how you're gonna tell the radio. You're gonna enable heated seats as well as heated steering wheel. So all these functions, you're gonna tell the LinksWell radio to turn them on or leave them off. So it's important that you guys get familiar with this. Just because, again, once you're done, you're gonna wanna know how to set that up. And you know, we wanna make sure that that's all fine and fully functional. So that's climate controls. From this panel, you're also going to remove the push to start button. So before I go any further, let me go ahead and do that. I keep this 5.5 millimeter socket set specifically for that, just because I don't use it very much. So let me put this on the bench, and then what I'll do is there are a total of 3 screws. So there's 3 screws, and this literally just lifts up. I'm gonna put it here for now because I have a screw that fell inside of this plastic panel and I need to get, there it is. So here's a factory climate controls. I'm gonna flip this over. Remember, keep this in place, because every time you put it down on its face, you don't want that pressure on that knob. We're gonna flip it over, and all we're doing is we're gonna put this back on. And so far, guys, I haven't used a single butt connector. I've used my crimper just to cut the wire type off these harnesses, but we're not gonna be hardwiring anything. I know a lot of companies like to use that plug and play term very loosely, but we're not just using it, we're showing you that this is truly plug and play. I mean, to go from this to the factory radio, it's a matter of 30 minutes. All right, so we have our push to start button in place. It's right over here. You guys could see that. Now let me go back into the car and continue removing the rest of the radio. So starting off with the screen, we need a number 7. Let me just 2 number pivots down at the bottom, or a Phillips in the middle. We can pop this out. This is where you guys can ask questions if you want to. Factory screen panel. And now there is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 Phillip heads, or number 7s. Okay, guys, so behind the radio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different plastic antenna looking plugs with the plastic Focrus. For all of you industry correct individuals. So we have, show you here. So we have AM/FM antenna, factory backup camera, factory GPS, and factory satellite radio. Factory satellite radio antenna. So that's what all these 5 are right here. And then besides that, we have the factory USB plug right over here. Sorry guys, this one's been a little stubborn. Locking tab is right there. Push it down and pull out. And then main power speaker plug right over here. Push that in, slide this out, unlock it, just like that. Factory screen and radio, all in one. So this is out with the old. Let's grab the brackets. We're gonna use the same 4 screws to put the brackets in here. You guys get an idea how that goes? Why am I tripping here? There we go. Sorry guys. So it goes to the inside. So top bracket, inside, bottom bracket, straight down. I knew because we're wider and I'm looking at this like, why is our screen gonna be on the inside? So my apologies. And they're labeled too, right side, but you can also put it on the right side and have it wrong like me. So right side goes to the inside. Same thing, so here we go. So there's our new brackets. This is where our radio is gonna mount. For all of you guys who off-road, don't worry. This radio is not gonna go anywhere. So let's grab our harnesses and start putting them in here, and then we'll leave our AC climate control plug last. Let me say this though. This AC plug, you wanna be very careful with how you route it. If you go up here, you're gonna have a hard time over here. Not that much of a hard time. You know, our radio compared to anything else that's made for the Jeep, it's a walk in the park. You know, you're not having to reinvent the wheel here, but what I would recommend is you come over to the left and there's a little gap right here. Go up, and that way the AC climate control plug is not in the way of anything. So go left and then straight up, and that will keep you out of trouble. Because once you start shoving things in here and trying to get the radio to mount up there, trust me, you're gonna wonder what's holding you up. All right, so to promote some adhesion, Lysol wipe, or if I didn't have this, I'd grab a hand sanitizer on a paper towel, clean the surface, dry it. That's gonna promote adhesion for everything you're trying to stick in here. You know, I'll go with my Wi-Fi antenna here, my 2 4G LTE antennas on these ducts. One of them's going this way, the other one's going this way. And GPS antenna, I would put it in this one up high to the left below this area right over here. So that's where I am going to be mounting those antennas. So I'm going to wipe surfaces here. Here is the sides, just to get rid of the dust, and this will promote adhesion. Okay. This is where we can talk. We can ask questions if you want while I mount these antennas. So there's my 3 antennas, Wi-Fi and 2 4G LTEs. Next is the GPS antenna. Let me wipe this corner up here where my GPS antenna is gonna mount. It's gonna mount right above this vent right here on the air duct. And so a lot of people ask us too, You know, can I program steering wheel controls? And the answer is no. That's part of the CAN bus programming that's already been done for you. You don't have to program the steering wheel controls because it's already embedded into the software. Now, the only thing we can help with is sometimes your volume up button will turn the volume down on the radio, and then your track up button will track down on the radio. That's a simple settings change that we can help you with. And again, we could definitely help you with that, but we can't, there's no need to reprogram the climate controls. So what I like to do is I like to keep all of my connections grouped. So this is all of my antennas. The GPS antenna cable is longer than all the other ones. So I want to go back and let me grab some zip ties. I got some just in case I needed them. Just a few. Okay. So what I like to do again is keep all of my antennas grouped, and then GPS is longer than the other three, so all the excess on the GPS I want to put it back here. Make it the same length. So now you see these X's back here, it's all gonna get tucked into the side. But before I do that, I'm gonna tape all of my ends and leave about this much slack, because once I'm here, I'm gonna have the radio in my hand and I'm gonna be using that to basically have access to the plugs. Let me grab my tape from the bench. About this much. Now, there's really nothing back here that you can zip tie yourself to. So the most you can do is grab all the excess like this. And trust me, none of this is going to affect your antenna signals. So I now have all of my excess in a bundle, zip tied together, and I will zip tie two spots right here, not in the middle, but one on each end. So now I'm gonna tuck all of this back here, and it's gonna sit under the vent right over here. So now I have my antennas right there. Next, I'm going to stick the Chime module on the right side of the air duct right there. So this is still not a single butt connector, guys. Not a single butt connector has been used. The Chime speaker right in the middle, that's because this is where I'm going to be pushing my main plug on the harness. Once it's plugged in, I'm going to be pushing it that way just to make room for the new radio to fit in. So next it will be my AM/FM antenna. AM/FM is the thicker one out of all these, but not this red one or this purple one. It's this white one here. It's the thicker cable out of all of them. Let me get my antenna adapter. So that's AM/FM. Now I can grab main harness, USBs to retain factory USBs, and then One more thing, I'm gonna fish my, I've got my microphone already mounted, not already mounted, but it's already ran back here. So I have microphone with some slack, 2 different types of mounts against the windshield or the C-clamp. It's already ran down, it's down here. And another thing we're doing to this radio is we're gonna be adding one of our USB dash mounted DVR cameras. I thought it was there, but it's actually here. Here we go. So this is just so you guys can take a look at it. USB plug on the back, double side tape right over here. The lens can actually swivel up and down. So this would be down or up depending on the windshield angle. I have the USB micro already ran to the top. So this is gonna mount here and it's gonna basically stick. Oh, you can't see it there. John, let me see my behind me angle to see if it looks better. Okay, so I'll bring it down just a little bit so you could see. So this is the angle of the camera. Here's the lens. The lens moves up and down. So depending on the angle of your windshield, that lens can stay down or it can move up like this. So in this one, because the angle is so steep, it's gonna go like this. So this is just so you can see it, but it's gonna go up high. So this is our USB DVR camera. And so I have that already ran over here. Let me just fish it up and I'll be right back. Okay, so we have the USB DVR camera cable already here and the microphone plug already here. And then I'm going to put my microphone cable together with my antennas. So most of your time is going to be consumed in just preparing all of the wiring to get the radio in place. That's where most of the time goes. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with programming or hardwiring anything, looking for this cable, looking for that cable, running triggers, none of that. Most of your time is going to be spent mounting the antennas. And look, we don't want to leave anything out. We want it all to show up and not leave anything out. So these are all of our small plugs. I like to call them the colored plugs because they're all different colors. Purple, off-white, green, red, white. Okay. I like to put them together only because I want to plug these in all at the same time. But remember, this one, which is your cyan plug, has live power. So don't just leave it with the gel tips on them. Put some tape on it so that the gel tips don't accidentally come off in the process of you shoving the wires back in, and then now you've got a live wire back there even though it's not stripped. Same thing with backup camera input harness. Has power outputs for additional cameras, so if you want to use these outputs to power up your cameras, you can. So I like to tape these up. We're only going to use the factory cam input on this one, which I already removed the plastic cover off of it, so I'm going to tape the other 2 inputs. So now my extra USB is going to plug into my USB DVR camera. Tape up that connection. I'm gonna leave most of that cable down behind this power plug, and I'm only gonna bring up this plug through the same space where through the same space where the AC climate controls are coming up through that same space. So now this red one, factory USB, let me try and fish the this is wired CarPlay. I'm gonna try and fish that down to the glove box here, and then we'll leave it there, easily accessible. Okay, so there is my wired USB in the glove box. Okay, so now I'm gonna put all of our wired USB, and then here is factory USB ports, is this gray plug right over here. That's the USB ports down on the bottom here, your USB hub. So that's what that is. I'm gonna bundle all of our color plugs. This. So remember, the auxiliary input harness is already attached to the main harness, and our preamp RCA harness has our microphone plug, which is this off-white. So since I have that already in here, I'm gonna hunt for the microphone plug and plug that in. So once you get familiar with all these harnesses, every single one of our other installs, RAM, GM, guys, it's the same. It's the main power plug, it's your USB inputs, it's your preamp output, it's your Chime speaker, it's your Bose adapter. But you're not cutting or splicing anything. That's all it is. So we have those. Now let's just throw in our main harness while we're at it. Why not? So here is the backup camera retention module. There's a same color plug right over here. This one. Same color as the one on our module. All you have to do is plug that in there and tuck it away. This one's gonna go up high, all the way to the right. To keep it, actually it's gonna go down low and keep it from causing or taking up any space. So this one's gonna go here and stay right down here, guys. Okay, anything to keep space for all of your harnesses once you go in. So then there's that. So the only other plugs we're gonna leave accessible excuse me, is the to radio plug and to AC climate control plug right over here. So we're gonna plug in the AC plug, which is already up here. Right there. So now that we have that plugged in, let's grab our 2-pin speaker plug and plug that in. Once we have that plugged in, let's plug in our main harness. So try and fish it out of this mess so that you could be free when you're mating them, and that way you can find a way to tuck it in and out of the way. So now we're gonna push this harness up high, our CAN module and our EV module off to the side here. Anything to keep our cavity wide open so that all of our plugs can have room to just rest, like in there. Okay, so I'm just prepping now to bring the radio and start making connections to the radio by getting rid of most of these harnesses and getting them out of my way. Here it is. Backup camera plug. AHD in there. Put some tape on it. Okay, backup camera is plugged in. All right, antennas, all of our plugs, AM, FM, main plug. I'm missing the one that's labeled to radio, which is right over here. Okay. So our box that the radio comes packaged in has this this cool white foam that you can use to put the radio here, just so that you're not, you want to be mindful of the rest of the vehicle. So I'm going to use that to hold that in place for me, and I'm going to grab the screws and the toolkit. Bro, why is this Jeep so high? It ain't made for guys like me. So, just being mindful of the vehicle, and I'm using this foam to let it rest on the foam. Now remember, if you're not doing a SIM card the day of the install, it's long enough to be fished into the glove box so that you have easy access for future reference. But since this one's already there, we can, okay. So now I hold radio, palm of my hand, and then with my left hand, I can start making my connections, starting with my antennas. And I say your antennas because look, I'm gonna flip this thing over so you can get this view right here. Okay, so that view, let me see. Yep, so these are your two 4G LTE antennas down here. If you do these connections at the top first, then you're gonna have a hard time accessing these two plugs down here. So personally, I'd like to start with 4G LTE antennas, GPS antenna, AM, FM, and Wi-Fi antenna first. So that's what I like to do. And that's why I left enough slack on those to be able to plug them in. 4 antennas, my colored plugs. So when we are done and we turn the ignition on, I'll show you steps to take to triple check things are functional right off the bat. Now I'm gonna go for the plug that's labeled to radio, and that one's gonna go up right here. Notice how I'm starting to bring the radio up close to. Okay, so now the push to start button that we transferred over. So little by little, I'm bringing the radio closer to its resting place. Now I've got my main power speaker plug. It's plugged in. I'm gonna pull my SIM card holder, since it's everywhere right now. It wants to be wherever it wants to be. But now that I have a hold of it, we're gonna tuck it right up in there. All right, so now that we have all of our plugs Left hand, putting harnesses in their places, making sure nothing's in the way. Right hand, with the size of this screen, dang, I even got my shoulder up in here. Last, I'm bringing in my AM/FM antenna plug. Okay. So, bringing it closer, bringing it closer, bringing it closer. Making sure my AC cable is still in its place so it doesn't give me any trouble. Okay, so now, okay, everything looks good on this side. So now, making sure things are tucked in where they need to be as you get closer into the dash. Now remember, you shouldn't have to cut anything from the dash if you're putting things in place as you bring the radio closer to its resting spot. So I'm just kind of making sure all the way around that nothing is getting caught in the process of me bringing this radio into its official resting spot. So see how sort of massage it into place. So this side is already there. All right, this side is already here. Okay, side clip. So now, while it's still sort of loose in there, I want to try and get some of the screws in place. I'm gonna start with the ones closer to me. And I'm not gonna put all of them in there. I'm only gonna put one on each side, and then we're gonna turn it on. All right, so top one caught. So now the satisfying part of removing the plastic protector. Remember, these bubbles from the screen protector will go away. I usually grab a microfiber with a credit card or an ID. I iron it a little bit out, but if you leave it, the sun will get to it and it'll just fall into place. Trust me, I've done a few. So now I got that off. So let's turn on the ignition for the first time, guys, and let's see what happened. So my 4G LTE signal is already running. Should I dim it, John, or should I leave it the way it is? You're working on it? Okay. So 4G LTE is already up, but the way I would confirm it is I would go to Google Chrome, and I already see Google recommending me some stuff, so I'll go Google. Okay, and then search results should pop up, right? It's already there. So I'm gonna go to, oh wait, that was Google UK, what the heck? So I'm just gonna go to google.com, and then here's Google. I'll do LinksWell. LinksWell Jeep XL, search results, boom, here we go. So now I'll go to, just to verify, because I want to know that data is already communicating. So youtube.com, okay, search for something, LinksWell, podcast. Guys, we have podcast now. So I misspelled it, but who cares? There's my results. So I know that my data connection is fully functional. So I'm good with this. I start playing something, radio's default is volume 10. There's an ad, I can already hear something. Let me just kill it by pressing the 2 squares on the bottom right, hit clear all my open. So I'm already getting audio. My 4G LTE is already functional. Now I'm gonna do radio. So radio is this app right here. So I'll touch radio. I just wanna hear static, right? It's already here. So that's my static. Next, I'm coming for my steering wheel controls. So volume up, volume down. Oh, that was my source button, the button in the middle of volume up and volume down. So I'm going through sources, okay? And I'm just gonna come back to AM FM. So volume up and down is already functional. I'm going to swipe up, and if you can tell, there is a total of 18 presets here. Preset number 1 on the left is blue. So if I hit track up on the back side, left side of the steering wheel, so that's track up, preset up, preset up, preset up. So preset up and preset down is functional. The button in the middle of preset up and down is seek. Oh, sorry, that's your band. That's your band. So I'm going through AM, FM. So this is FM1, FM2, AM. So I'm going through the bands right now. So that verifies that steering wheel controls are working. I'm getting sound. Next, I'm going to start the vehicle, put it in reverse to make sure my backup camera is functional. So this is me going through just initial stuff. So we're inside a garage, so I'm going to go in reverse. There is my backup camera. I'm going to put it back in park, and I'm going to turn the car off because I do not want to breathe this stuff. So that was my backup camera. So there is ignition back on. But notice that fast boot. I mean, it turned off and boom, back on. Guys, no lag time, okay? So that's as far as audio, volume up and down, track up and down, backup camera, right? Next is climate controls. Remember, we had dual temp settings. So I'm not even gonna try it right now. I'm gonna go into settings. I'm gonna go into system. First option, setting guide. Guys, and this is the same for every vehicle, Jeep, Ram, GM, Ford. It's the same one for Mustang, right? So settings, first option, setting guide, first option, car model AC. It looks like I'm on Jeep Wrangler Auto AC. This is a 21 model. So I may be able to be okay with Auto AC. I may have to switch over to Max 22 depending on the fan speeds that the factory climate control had. So I'm gonna start the vehicle again, but I'm gonna go through this first. So from the home screen, all right, a lot of people go, where's your climate controls? Well, one, you have a climate button on the home screen. You can press that. That's got your fan speed up, fan speed down, okay? Now they go, where's my temp controls? The bottom banner of these radios swipes over to the left to expose your temperature. But not only that, this multifunction knob goes from being volume to fan speed. You push it again, it changes to temperature. So, but I want to know that we can turn on the air. So notice how it went from, so here we go. So that's the knob right here. Fan speed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, back to climate page. Okay, and then so fan speed down, I'm gonna push the knob in and I can now adjust temperature, 66, 67, right? So then that's driver side temp. Press the sync button for both of them to basically sync with temp settings. So now my temp knob is adjusting both passenger and driver. Now you guys see this page that keeps dropping, right? So from default, this climate page is set up to stay on for 10 seconds and then it drops. Let me turn the AC for now, turn it off. So just turn it off, I'm gonna explain this to you guys. So it'll drop after 10 seconds. Now you can change that to stay on longer, you can change it so that it never comes down. This is user selectable. So the way you do that is you want to go into settings, you want to go into general, back to system, under factory settings, enter the code 1660, press OK. Now be careful where you swipe up on this page. Find a blank space to swipe all the way up until you can't no more. Look for the option that says climate timeout. It's currently set to 10 seconds. You can change it from 10 to 15 to 20 to 30 seconds, or you can select off, so that when you do come in, you swipe over to the left, then you hit the climate button. This page will not time out on you until you swipe over to the left and hit the home button. So now that we're here, let's go over climate controls. Remember, we had dual temps, we had heated seats, we had heated steering wheel. I don't see that on here yet. So we're gonna go back and let's go over temp for now. So I'm not gonna touch the screen, I'm driving. Boom, swipe over to the left or press the climate button, push it in, fan speed up. Okay, fan speed up. Oh, my air is too hot. Push the knob, turn the knob counterclockwise, temp goes down. Oh, it's too cold. Turn it clockwise, temperature goes up. You don't want it, push the power button, turn it off. Now, notice the climate page is still here for us until we either hit the home button down at the bottom, swipe over to the right and hit the home button, bring the top menu down and hit the home button. Different ways of getting there, you guys. Different ways of getting there. So let's just hit the home button on the bottom. Okay, so now we're here. Climate page down here is still there until you swipe over to the left. So these are two pages. Page 1, page 2. So let's go into settings. Let's go into system, under setting guide, second option down, seat and steering wheel. That's where you touch. This is where we're gonna enable heated seats and heated wheel. Down arrow on the left side of that window to close it, hit save and reboot over here. Below the word system, it's gonna ask you if you wanna reboot, press OK. The radio is gonna turn off and turn back on. This is the only time that you're gonna ever see this boot up screen. Now, we made it so that when you get into the car, you turn it on, it's immediately on. Boom, it's ready to go. There is a time from time to time. You might see it once a day, depending on how much you drive the vehicle. Once a month, depending upon how much you drive the vehicle. Maybe you'll see it once a year, I don't know. But eventually, you're gonna see this come up. You'll see this boot up process come up. That's because there's a settings inside the radio that tells it that if you turn the ignition off and back on in 10 seconds, it goes through that boot up process again. If you do it in 9 seconds, if you do it in 10 seconds, if you do it in 11 seconds or 3 minutes later, you're not gonna see that long delayed boot up time. It'll always be fast boot. So we just enabled heated seats and cool seats. I'm gonna go to the home button. I'm gonna press the climate button. So now we have heated seats for driver and passenger. We also have heated steering wheel. So you push it once. Sorry, let me turn on the car. Car has to be on for heated seats and all that stuff to work. So you push it once, it's high, medium, low, and off, just like the factory. Passenger side, high, medium, low, and off. If this vehicle had cooled seats, then the fan seat would be on the right, fan seat would be on the right. When you turn that on, they go blue. Heated steering wheel, on or off. Let me turn the car off again. We're inside a bay, so radio turns off because the doors are open. Let me come in, turn the ignition back on. Radio's ready to go. No lag time, guys. All right. What else? John, are we missing anything? No, huh? So that's that. I mean, we could go through CarPlay connectivity, I guess. Marco, do you have your phone? Let me get it, please. So, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Okay, I'm gonna keep touching his screen so it doesn't close, but I'm just gonna keep going back and forth. So up high right here. Okay, so the app that you want is Car Auto. Okay, so Car Auto, before you even pair it to Bluetooth, there's a hexagon on the bottom right. You want to touch it, and you're going to either turn on or leave off the allow auto boot function on the radio. If you turn that on, every time you get out, the phone disconnects. When you get back in, it's gonna reconnect automatically. If you leave that off, when you get out of the car, Bluetooth is gonna disconnect. When you get back in, Bluetooth is going to reconnect, but CarPlay is not gonna launch until you press the Car Auto button. That's when CarPlay will launch. Most people want CarPlay to automatically launch the minute they get into the car. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna turn that on. I'm going to press the 2 squares down at the bottom. I'm gonna clear all. I'm gonna go to Bluetooth. On the radio and on the phone, I'm gonna hit this chain link button at the upper right hand corner, and I'm gonna select pair new device. So now I'm gonna come in here to settings on the phone. I'm gonna go to Bluetooth. The phone is looking for Bluetooth devices. Is your iPhone, is it an iPhone? Is it called iPhone, Marco? Yeah. Okay, so iPhone is the name of his phone. We're gonna touch it. The phone is gonna ask us if we wanna connect to Bluetooth. Okay, so pair, allow contacts. So pairing request, look what happens to the radio. Car Auto is gonna automatically launch once Bluetooth shows that it's connected. So now the phone is gonna ask us, do you wanna use CarPlay? Yes, connect. So now CarPlay is loading. And there is his Apple CarPlay. Got a text message already there, and another one. But this is CarPlay in all of its glory, and all of the different applications that you can have on CarPlay and all the different views, right? Turn-by-turn guidance, what you're playing, and your map, or map full screen. Let me give this back to you, Marco. If you want to turn Bluetooth off and turn Wi-Fi on, so CarPlay disconnects. But before you go, remember we talked about CarPlay and internet connectivity. So now I have CarPlay as well as internet already playing. So we're gonna use our material so that we don't get copyrighted, okay? So we have, here we have YouTube already playing. Now, let me show you split screen. Excuse me. Sorry, let me go do this again. So this is YouTube. Let me kill YouTube. I'm gonna start with CarPlay because the app that you start with is gonna be the one that goes to the top. I don't want YouTube to be at the top because I don't want to get a ticket. So press and hold the 2 squares down here. Oh, let me close settings as well. So let me close all of them. Let me start with CarPlay. Notice what CarPlay does, right? It's full screen, right? Press and hold the 2 squares down here. CarPlay goes to the back. Chrome is what I had YouTube on. This could be my YouTube app, but I haven't downloaded it yet, so I'm just gonna use Chrome. Look at what CarPlay does. It resizes itself. So now I have YouTube. Let me just make that full screen. So now I have YouTube on one half and my CarPlay connectivity on another half. I am watching or listening to my music videos, right?
Let's do it.
While I navigate home.
What's up, my people?
Okay.
Welcome back. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the speaker is off on CarPlay, so let me turn it on.
Yeah.
Proceed to Chicago Avenue, then take the first left.
So now I'm navigating voice guided, right?
Hey, Dad.
With YouTube.
Because I'm old, I've gotten to that.
There's a white line in the middle that determines if I swipe down, CarPlay is gonna take over. If I swipe up, YouTube takes over. So I'm gonna swipe down. Look what CarPlay does. Resizes itself to give you the absolute best aspect ratio. Any questions so far? We're good? Okay, so that's CarPlay. I mean, beyond this, we could get into application downloading. We could get into home customizing. Guys, the possibilities with these radios are absolutely endless. But before we move, let's go over some of the buttons, the hard buttons on the screen itself. Obviously, your hazards button was lost. So now, now it's here. Your automatic start-stop button is right there. Traction control, parking sensors off and on. This is your what's this button for down here? The bottom right. It's the gauge with the vehicle down here. Is like downhill assist or something. Okay. And then on the left, you've got CarPlay shortcut buttons, navigation shortcut buttons, applications that you have running shortcut buttons. This is, okay, so this takes you to vehicle off-road pages. Perfect. There's another one we could go over. And then shortcut access to cameras, bottom left-hand button. So how does this vehicle integrate to the car? You swipe up from the home screen, car settings. In car settings is where you'll have your off-road pages. So all of the different, information you had on the factory radio, accessory gauges, your pitch and roll page, your dashboard, and then auto start-stop function, okay? And inside car settings, this is where all of your vehicle control functions are. This is everything that your factory radio had the ability to control. Now, if this was a 4xe model, and you want to see the power flow pages on this list of items, all the way to the bottom, it says right here, Jeep 4xe. It's disabled on this one, but when you enable it, look what happens to the pages up at the top. Right now, we only have 2. The minute we enable 4xe, we get a 3rd page. So here is the power flow information from the hybrid model. This is not a hybrid, so what we'll do is we'll leave this function off, but this is where you would come to turn that on. So let's go back to car settings, all the way down to 4xe, turn that off. The power flow page disappears. What else? So that's inside of the car settings application. Sorry, I closed CarPlay. It wants to stay connected. All right, I get it. So that's inside of the car settings application. I mean, other than that, you guys, do you have the Ring at home? Go in the Play Store, log into the Play Store account. If you don't know how to do this, all you need is a @Gmail account. Put it in there with your password, and boom, like you'll be ready to go. For example, here, let me show you guys some of that real quick. Man, I'm getting excited here. We're gonna have to charge people an after hours time. What? It's been 2 hours. Bro. Okay. So watch, here we go. For all of you guys that have stayed here this late, you guys ready? All right, so let me use the LinksWell. And here we are, Play Store. So search right up here, search button up here. I'm gonna start with Netflix, everybody's favorite, right? So Netflix, boom, search, install, next, YouTube, boom, install, Spotify. Remember, you don't even need your phone for Spotify. It's already here. Install. I know you guys have Waze on your phone, but guess what? You could put it directly on this radio. Waze. Boom. Install. I'll show you something cool. TikTok. Even though it's about to get banned. Install. So you want to do TikTok? While you can, also do TikTok wallpaper. TikTok wallpaper. Boom. Wallpaper. Install. Guys, whatever you want. Facebook. Instagram. Okay. I'll show you guys something cool real quick. So Instagram. Okay, so watch this. So install that. Home screen. Over to the right are all the apps that I'm already downloading. Some of them have already finished. From the home screen, I mean, some people like this whole pitch and roll thing. Personally, you can use a pitch and roll from the off-road pages. They look better, only because I like my home screen to be a little cleaner, right? But what I'd like to do is keep the home screen clean. So I'll start grabbing and dragging. Up at the top, there's an X, it says remove. I'll start just removing stuff. Another one of my favorites that I would recommend is called, oh, how come I didn't get that one yet? It's called wallpapers. Play Store, another one. Wallpaper. So I would ask your customer, like, hey, Mr. Customer, what are some of your favorite apps? So wallpapers. This is gonna allow us to change the background image and stuff like that. So then I'm still removing stuff. I'm gonna remove this one. We can always bring it back if you like it, Marco, but I'm gonna remove it. This Play Store button is too big. This Netflix button is too big. I'm gonna start bringing some of my downloaded apps over to the left. Okay, Netflix. Okay. Waze. Sirius XM. So I'll show you kind of what I do here. Okay, TikTok. Sorry guys, I'm wearing gloves and my screen isn't. Okay. Why not? The ones that are downloading too. Watch. This is how I keep my home screen clean so that I could see a picture of my car in the background. So typically what I'll do is, I'll give you guys an example. So I took a picture of this really cool Jeep earlier and I emailed it to our Gmail address. So let me grab Gmail. Let me grab, watch this. You guys are gonna be blown away by this. Maps, okay? What else? Maps, Google, Chrome, even Play Store, smaller Play Store, okay? So watch this, everything Google, grouped, boom. What do you wanna call it? I wanna call it Google, okay? Everything Google, Google Chrome. Oh, there's already a Google Chrome in there. Let me get rid of this one, okay? Gmail, so we have Play Store, we have Chrome, and we have Maps, all inside of Chrome. Now, Netflix, YouTube, Amazon Prime, Pluto TV, all in the same group called Video, Entertainment. Entertainment, boom. All of my streaming apps, Sirius. Let me bring my radio application too. I don't know anybody that still listens to the radio, but I'll put it here. My Facebook, my TikTok, my Instagram, what do you want to call it? Social media, grouped. Boom. Okay, touch it. Social media. Done. I'll leave my climate page here. I'll leave this here. So watch this. So from a boring home screen, okay, I'm gonna come over here and grab another app called, I never know what to call it. I always just call it Weow, but it's, I go W-E-O-W. Oh wait, W-E-O-W, and then it's this one here, this weather one. W-E-A-W-O-W. I'll tell you why. Install it. Okay, and then we'll wait for that to install. I'm gonna bring, oh, guess what? It's already done installing. So I'm gonna open it and I'm gonna tell it current location. So it's going to allow all the time. So it's gonna look for a current location. It already knows where we are, 1860 Chicago Avenue. This is where we are. So now, guess what? I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna press and hold the app. I'm gonna select widgets. I'm gonna look for one that's 2 by 1, so 2 spaces tall by 1 space wide, but you can resize it, watch. So here, I'm in the process of customizing the home screen, so you guys can show your customers how to personalize it. So here is this one here. Let me find a cool one. Why isn't it giving me that many options this time? So let's go with, okay, whatever, this one, 1 by 1, right? So I'm gonna drag it to the home screen at the very top. Then this setup page pops up. This is where I can adjust the width, make it completely wide. I can change the size of the font. I can change the color of the font, black background, and its transparency level. Look, more transparent, less transparent, right? So I'm gonna make it 95% transparent, create widget, and now it tells me, hey, it's gonna resize when you go. So you go, okay, look, it got smaller again. Touch and hold it. It's got these white circles, make it wide, all over again. So that's my banner at the top. Now we can see time, date, weather, where I'm at. So here is the cool part. Gmail. I emailed myself these pictures before. It's not necessarily of this car, but this is just to show you what I did, what you could do. I took a picture of this car, I emailed it to myself, and I then came in here and watch, there's 4 pictures. They're just kind of waiting to load. Okay, so there's the pictures that I downloaded earlier. And we're just gonna use one just to give you guys an example, okay? So I'm gonna touch and hold one, view the image. That's the image. I'm gonna come in here, 3 dots on the right, I'm gonna save it, allow Gmail to save images. So now that I saved the image, I'm going to now come in here and grab the app that I downloaded called Wallpapers. Wallpapers has an arsenal of different wallpapers that you can choose from. Life, cityscapes, textures, landscapes. Only if you're connected to an internet source will you see this. But it also has the ability to read pictures that you have downloaded and saved onto the radio. So now I grab that picture. I now set it as a wall. So this is a preview. Set it as wallpaper, home and lock screen. So now I go to my home screen. This is now my home screen. This could be a picture of your car, of your family. I mean, like I said earlier, the possibilities are truly endless. Now, I mean, if I was at the store and I was doing this for a customer, I would definitely charge extra for the time spent. But this is you knowing the product. This is you mastering the product. This is what makes you different. This is what makes us different, right? So ultimately, this could be a still image, or if I go to TikTok and I, for example, want to look up, this is a Gladiator. Okay, just use my continue with Google. That's fine. Okay, so continue with Google. Skip this. Start watching. So I'm gonna search. Okay, fine. Okay, so I'm gonna search Jeep. Marco, do you have a TikTok account? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Marco's TikTok page is Baja Overland. Overlanding or Overland? Overland. Overland. So Baja Overland. Okay. So look, he's got some really cool videos on here with his Jeep. So if I touch it, and let's just say, look at this right here. The share button, which is the right arrow, down here, there's an option that says set as wallpaper. It's gonna download that video. It's already at 50% because of your 4G LTE connectivity. Wi-Fi hotspot, you'd be here for 10 minutes waiting for that video to load. It's gonna give me a preview, set that as wallpaper, another preview, set it, home screen. So now if I go to my home, I have a live background image of his TikTok video on his Jeep Gladiator. I mean, guys, if this was a mic, if this was a mic, I would be dropping it right now. But thank you guys for sticking around, because again, this is you guys taking the time to master this product, and anything we could do to help you guys out. I mean, come on, I came in here when it was pull-out radios, and then pull-out radios, face-off radios, flip-out monitors, double DINs, floating screens. It's all been the same stuff on a different platter. This is us bringing you the latest and greatest innovation to the industry. It is so refreshing to be here talking to you guys about this. Trust me. So unless you guys have any additional questions, this is where we sign off. Thank you guys so much for your time. We'll see you on the next one.